everybody, this is Bronislava for HandMadeRukodelky, and look who's here with me today. Hello Yoda, say hello to our friends. It's absolutely gorgeous today. I need to spend some time outside. Anyway, so today's project actually is going to be knitting another pair of fingerless gloves. I decided to basically make them from cotton, and for one reason. Winter's coming, our hands are going to be very dry, and so I want to go and be putting cream on my hands and gloves and go to bed with them. So I'll be sleeping with these gloves. You know, we knitters need to take care of our hands so they look beautiful when we're knitting and crocheting. So this glove is actually knitted with knit one purl one pattern. So we have it stretchy, okay, and it's going to go and fit really snugly, and it will not come off in a bed when we're sleeping and our hands are being healed. As you know, this part always gets really raw in the winter time, so we need this, and sometimes also these knuckles over here. So all this needs to be covered with our glove. Because this glove is small, very small, it's for very small hands, small woman's hands, I started on 30 stitches. Okay, so I will cast on 30 stitches. So you do the same, cast on 30 stitches. If you need to start on more, you can start on more. Also, please see in my video, under the video in description, I have a link and there will be written pattern, free written pattern on my blog. I cast it on 30 stitches. Actually, I had to recast because my tail wasn't long enough. So make sure that your tail is long enough when you're casting on. And again, I do have a video how to cast on. And now what I will do is I will knit one and purl one. Okay, so knit one, purl one, and knit one and purl one, and I will show it to you also in English style. This is continental style, so let me show it to you in English style. So you will knit one, and purl one, and you will do this all the way to the end of this row. Okay, just do the ribbing. Now we need to put our, I always forget to put the yarn back when I am doing English style. And you know what happens if you don't put your yarn back, right? You will do yarn over. So that's why you need to put that yarn back when you're knitting. Okay? So when I'm finished with my row, I will show you how I go and join my stitches into a circle. Okay, and I will continue with my continental style. I am finished with my first row, and I will move my stitches onto my other double pointed needles, and I will use 2 more to divide my stitches. So I will put 10 stitches on first needle, 10 stitches on second needle, and then I will leave 10 stitches on my initial needle. Okay, so here we will have 10 stitches. Let me see, is that 10? That's 10. Okay, and now we need need to join it into a circle. Okay, so make sure again it does not twist in here like this. Okay, it would be horrible looking, ugly. Now you go and move your knit in such way that you have your tail over here, you have your yarn over here, but it needs to be actually in the back. So let me see. You do need to put it together like this, because you will start knitting in around this way, okay, in that direction, and this needs to be in the back over there, because we will be working with the first stitch is knit stitch. Okay, now I usually use this first stitch from cast on, and I put it together with first stitch, okay, with first stitch over here that we will be knitting, and I twist it so it becomes really tight. You know, I'm showing this thing also on a video where I'm teaching you how to cast on double pointed needles. Okay, so I twisted my first the last one, or whatever, very first one cast on stitch, and I'm going to combine it with very first knitted stitch on this needle, okay, and I will knit these two stitches. Okay, so just knit the stitch, and if you're knitting English style, then you do the same thing like this, right? You just knit it like that. Alright, so let me go and show it to you first in English style. So we will do knit stitch and tighten it up. Okay, make sure you tighten this first stitch as much as possible. Move your yarn forward and make your purl stitch. And again, we will knit and purl, oops, again, wrong. We need to go back here. Okay, and knit. Now we need to go forward and purl the stitch. So just knit and purl your stitches all the way to the end of the row. Oops, you see I do it all the time. Can you believe it? This is not funny. Don't do it. You're gonna have extra stitches there that don't belong in there. Okay, now let me go and start knitting with continental style so I don't make any mistakes here. Okay, so now I am doing knit and purl stitches. So this is my knit and purl. So you do all the way to the end. That is going to be your second row. You will finish second row and then do 18 more rows. So total 20 rows. Okay, just knit in the round 20 rows. I am finished with my 20 rows, and you can see that it's exactly the same like my first glove. And now we will be working on this part right here. So basically what we need to do is we need to widen up this area for our thumb. Okay, from here to here. My first row, I'm not going to be adding any stitches just yet, but I will prepare or prep my thumb area. Over here we have knit, purl, knit, and we will turn these 3 stitches into knit stitches. Okay, so we just will knit 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and now we will continue doing again what we were doing before this entire row. Okay, so we will do purl, knit, okay, so we will purl, do this all the way to the end of the row where you finish, and then you will be starting a new row. Okay, and I'll show you what to do next. Let me show you now the purl stitch with English style, because that's what is next over here. So purl stitch and knit stitch. Okay, and purl stitch, and like I said, continue all the way to the end. And we are ready to knit our 22nd row, and this is the row where we will start our increases. Okay, so what we will need to do is we will knit first stitch. Okay, and then we will knit below the stitch that we just knitted, which is over here. We knitted this stitch, okay, but we will go under and we will knit this stitch one more time, but it's right below it. Okay, now we will knit one stitch, and now we are supposed to knit this stitch, but we need to knit first below it. It's going to be a mirror image. Okay, so below it, and now we will knit this stitch. Okay, so we increased by 2 stitches, and you will see that the original knitted stitches are on the outside, and then increased stitches are on the inside, and then there is this stitch that is regularly knitted. Okay, and this is my marker, so I just move it, and now we will again do knit and purl, knit, and purl, knit, purl, and knit all the way to the end. This is our 23rd row, and what we will do is we will knit 5 stitches and then do our ribbing. Purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit all the way to the end. Okay, so that's what we will do, and we will do this actually in this row and the next row. We will do these 2 rows exactly the same. Knit 5 stitches. Let me show it to you in English style. Okay, so we will knit 5 stitches and tighten all your stitches, tighten them all up. Okay, tighten, so you have that springy, so it's springy, because otherwise if you don't tighten it up, it's not going to be springy. Okay, so that's 1, 2, this is our 3rd knitted stitch, 4th knitted stitch, and 5. And now, after we move our marker, we will do our ribbing, and we need to start with our purl stitch, and now knit stitch and tighten. Oops, again, I always do that. Move that yarn back when you're doing knit stitch. Okay, and yarn forward when you're doing purl stitch. Okay, and tighten your stitches. And I'm gonna go and move my yarn so I can knit with my continental style. And purl and knit all the way to the end, and then do the same row again, the same, repeat this row one more time. Okay, so I knitted my 2 rows, and now we are again in an increase row. Okay, So now we have to work with 5 stitches. So we will knit this stitch, increase, knit 3 stitches, increase, and knit this stitch. Okay, so basically all these 5 stitches are gonna be knitted a regular way, but then we will increase below this stitch, and below this stitch we will increase our stitches. We will make 1 extra stitch there. So we will first knit stitch, okay, and now we need to knit below this stitch. Okay, we have this stitch that we knitted, we need to knit below it. Okay, so we will knit below it, and we increased. Okay, now we will knit 3 stitches, knit, knit, knit. Now we will again increase, make 1, and we will again below it. So this is the stitch that we will knit later on, but we need to increase below it, below. Okay, and now we will knit the stitch. Okay, and we will have 7 stitches. Okay, and move your marker and do your ribbing. Do your ribbing. Purl, because you have to start first with purl, because that's our purl stitch, and this is our knit stitch. And purl and knit, and do that all the way to the end. So I'm finished with my increase row, and now 2 rows I will do again the same way, where I will knit these 7 stitches and then do the ribbing. Okay, and I will do that twice. So we will knit 7 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, move my marker, and now I will do the ribbing, and I have to start with my purl stitch. So first purl, and then we will do knit and purl all the way to the end, and then we do this same way the next row, exactly like this row, the same way. I am finished with my 2 rows where I did knit 7 and then do the ribbing. Okay, and this is another row where we need to go and increase, and we will do it again. We will knit first stitch, increase below it. Okay, we will increase right there, then knit 5 stitches, then we will increase again below this stitch, the one next to the marker. We will increase right there, and then knit that stitch. Okay, let me show it to you in English style now. Knit this stitch. Okay, now we need to knit below this stitch. We will knit below it. I hear some animal outside. My door is open. Okay, now we will knit 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we will again increase by knitting below this stitch, which is right there. Okay, and don't let this stitch go down yet. We need to knit into it in a regular way. Okay, and now you should have 9 stitches. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and we will do our ribbing. Okay, so we need to move this yarn forward and purl the stitch, okay, knit the stitch. Oops, again, I always do that. Knit the stitch, purl. You know why I do that? Because I don't knit this way on a regular basis. I really think that continental is much easier and faster, but that's in my opinion. Alright, so we will finish this row doing ribbing. Okay, and then we will do our 2 rows again like we've done before. Okay, now that I'm finished with my increase, I will knit my 9 stitches and then do ribbing, and I will do that in 2 rows. Okay, so this row, and then I will repeat it one more time. So we will knit 9 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Move my marker and start working on my ribbing. Okay, and purl, that's our first purl stitch, and then knit and purl and knit and purl and knit. Okay, and do it, finish the row and do it one more time. So now that we're finished with our thumb part, where we have these 9 stitches over here, we will move these 9 stitches onto our hook. I use this hook, it's size E, but anything is going to work that you can grab the yarn. Actually, the holder that I will be putting it on is a thick yarn. Alright, I'm not going to be using a regular holder because we need to bend these stitches, and holder doesn't bend. Okay, now we need to get rid of this, we don't need it anymore, and we will use a thick yarn. Use the thickest yarn that you have at home. Okay, and just gently move it. Let me go move this a little bit down so you can see better. Hold this and basically pull this yarn, the thick yarn, through each stitch, and move this little pointy tip, turn it down and pull up a little bit so you can pull it through each stitch. Okay, if you need to stop, you stop and pull it through. When you pull up, you will create little area over here, okay, that you can pull the yarn through, like a little hole there. Okay, pull it through. Now my yarn is also fairly long, so I don't lose my stitches. Okay, so make sure that you have a long yarn. My dog in the background is trying to go and lay down in the bed. Yeah, she was trying to make her bed, you know, she just, with her paws, she makes, she's trying to gather the beddie. Okay, so now I have to explain one thing. We finish over here with a purl stitch, and over here we started with purl stitch. So in between these stitches we need a knit stitch. So I will solve it this way. I will just knit underneath in here under this stitch again I will add one more stitch right here, okay? I will knit under it. Oops, one more time, because we're connecting it like this. This is our thumb part, right? So one more time we will just pull that yarn through, and that's our knit stitch. And now we will purl that stitch. Don't take it off, right? Because we cannot take it off. We just need to purl the stitch. And we will do our ribbing. Okay, let me go and make sure that I tighten up this stitch. You can do it this way. You pull on this and then pull on this. And that way you will tighten up this stitch. Let's do it one more time. See, you need to pull on that stitch, make it tight, and then pull this stitch as well. Okay, because you don't want a really huge gap right in between these two needles. Between the third and first needle, you don't want the gap, okay? You want as little gap as possible. Okay, so we did knit stitch below and purl stitch in the stitch that we were supposed to knit. And now we will continue doing knit and purl, knit and purl. This is our first row after we joined in a circle again, okay? So we're starting again. So we will now knit and purl 18 rows, and then we will bind off. So knit and purl 18 rows, and when you're finished with it, I will show you how I will bind off. I also have videos on binding off, so you can check my videos. Go to my channel and scroll, and it's one of the very first videos. It's like, I don't know, might have been like in first 20 videos that I have done. It's a really long time. I think I've done it in, can't remember, 2011, 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that, okay? Okay, here I am finished with my first row after I did my thumb, and I still need to do 17 more rows. So I will see you when I'm finished with 17 more rows, okay? I am finished with my 18 rows of knit and purl stitches, okay? Again, I have 30 of them in here, 30 stitches, and now I am ready to bind off my entire row. So you know how to do that, right? And if you don't, you can watch one of my videos, which I will actually post over here. So you will knit first 2 stitches. Actually, this one was supposed to be purled, so we will purl this stitch, and then I will move that 1 stitch over. Now this is knit stitch, so I will knit it, and I will pull that stitch over. This is my purl stitch, so I will purl this stitch, and I will move this stitch over and continue all the way to the last stitch. Now that we have this last stitch, I will put it on my hook, and I will connect it to my first stitch over here with the chain, and last slip stitch and cut off your yarn, and later on we will weave in all the ends, okay? And Now we are ready to knit our thumb. What we need to do is we need to transfer our 9 stitches from the yarn onto our needles, and I will distribute them this way, 3 stitches on each needle. And I usually do it slowly and carefully so I don't lose my stitches. So I will grab this, pull it up a little bit, and from the back I insert my needle. Okay, and now I pull my yarn, and again here is my stitch right there. Again I will, from the back, the stitch is facing me this way, and I go from the back, okay, and I will pull my yarn out of that stitch. And again, this is the back. I will put my needle in there. Make sure that you don't split your yarn, okay? So that's 3 stitches on one needle. Now if I would have metal needles, it would be very slippery. That's why it's better to knit with bamboo needles. Okay, so I went again, as you see, from the back to the front, and I'm taking my yarn out. Again over here, it's not the blue one, and we have to go, if I position it like this, that I know I have to go here, this way, from the back to the front. Okay, and do this with all of your stitches. So I have 3 more stitches left. 1 stitch at a time. Okay, this one, you see, it's kind of going in like this. You see, because it's pulling. So you need to pull on this yarn. You need to pull on it so you can see the stitch, the last one. And it's from the back to the front. Okay? So now that we have done this, we will start knitting our stitches, but also, as you see, we have a gap over here. So I will basically put my needle through this one here and this one here, and I will put it on this first needle. Okay, let me go and show you. So basically you have this gap toward your body, okay, and we will be knitting this way. So when you pull those 2 stitches there, put it on your first needle, both of them. Okay, so you will have basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. Okay, in that direction we will be knitting like this. Take your yarn, and start knitting 2 together. Knit these 2 stitches together, okay? It's hard to do it. Hold on 1 second, we need to... Oh, you have to hold that stitch somehow with that yarn. Okay. You can also do it this way, look. you could do it. If it's going to be hard, take your hook, pull the yarn through, and then put it back on your needle. Okay, that's another way how to start this. Now this stitch is gonna be getting really long because it's first stitch. Okay, so make sure that this tail is long enough, okay, that it's not too short, otherwise you will lose this stitch. And knit entire row, knit, knit, knit. Of course you can knit English style, right? I don't have to show it to all of you people, right? How to knit the English style, because the outcome of the knit stitch is exactly the same. Okay, it doesn't matter if I am knitting continental or English, the stitches come out exactly the same. Okay, so if you see me knitting continental, you knit English, that's okay, because you can do it in English. Just do it your way. Okay, now we are finished with our first row, and this, when we will be knitting, it's gonna go and get big, so we will be pushing this end actually to the inside of the thumb. So I knitted one row, and I will knit 7 more rows. We will later on pull on that stitch to make it tight, and then we will weave in all the ends. Okay, so knit another row, and after you're finished with knitting another row, knit 6 more rows. Total 8 rows. Okay, just knit around, and remember that you started knitting these rows right here. Okay, not down here, not here. This is your beginning right here. Okay, I am finished with my 8 rows. You remember, this is our first row with that big one that we need to tighten up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and now we will do our ribbing again. Knit, purl, knit, purl. Okay, so this is gonna be our knit and purl, and we have 10 stitches, so you will repeat this 5 times total. Knit, and this one is purl. Now this one is knit and purl, knit and purl. Now purl, 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 not knit, purl and knit and purl. And that's our first row, and I will do 2 more rows and then I will bind off. Okay, so now again, knit and purl, and after I'm finished with this row, I will do 1 more row of knit and purl stitches. This way it will not be curling up. And purl, knit and purl. Okay, so that's 3 rows, and now we will bind off. So we will knit first stitch, purl next stitch, and now we will take the first stitch over the second stitch. That's our first stitch, knit, because this is our knit stitch, and pull that first stitch over second stitch. Now this is our purl stitch, so we will purl it, and we will pull that stitch over the second stitch, and continue like this all the way to the end. And here I am almost done. And we will do what we did with the stitch over here. We will do the same thing over here, okay? So we will put our hook in here and we will connect it over here to this stitch, make a stitch and the knot, and we will cut it off. And now we will just weave all the ends in. So we have 4 ends. We have this end, this end, this end, and one on the inside, this long end, that long stitch. So you will, I'll show you how to do this one here. What I will do is I will pull on it and take a hook and choose one of these stitches, maybe this one here, something where it looks really strong, okay? I will pull like this through that stitch and then pull the yarn through again, and you will make a knot, so it's gonna be stronger and tighter over here. Look, I'll show it to you. You see, it's not as huge. And now you just need to weave that stitch in, and I usually on the inside I usually weave it along this row of that stitch right there. I just go from one to another, I weave it around, and you won't be really able to see it on the other side. So here are the gloves that I have finished, the ones with the ribbing, knit 1, purl 1 ribbing, okay? As you see, it's nice and snuggly, and all I need to do is smother my hands in cream and put these gloves on and go to bed. I want to say to all of you, thank you very much for watching my video, and I will see you another time.